And we're back.
Welcome to the next episode of But Wait, There's More. This is episode 18. And we're here at Silver Wolf Comics and Games in Morgan City, Louisiana. I'm Hans. This is Ray. And we're going to continue the trek through the Null Cells, the Supermax prison of Faerun, or a Supermax prison.
One of many, we are sure.
But where we left off, Geth had fist fought a cloud giant and won. And from there, she has let the group know that, there's bad critters here. What they're looking for is probably in the next level, because this is a multi-tiered Supermax. Right now they're in general population. They haven't gotten to the maximum security or Supermax prison yet.
Yeah. It's like, okay, here we go. It's bad enough. We've got creatures of all sizes, shapes, and dangers floating around in here.
And there's worse.
And there's worse. Yeah, there's worse coming. And we're like, okay, what the devil is wrong with us?
Well, they need the thing, and the thing is, much further on. So after resting a bit there, they head back the way they came, and the trap that they did not set off previously, they felt like it was a good idea to set it off such that it wouldn't spring up on somebody if there was some running and screaming involved and they forgot where it was.
Just get it out of the way. Be done with it. And Krontis would not leave us alone about it anyway. I want to spring it. I want to spring it. I want to spring the trap.
He's really into this whole worshipping Loviatar thing. He doesn't mind if he gets hurt because all praise be Loviatar.
Woo.
Yeah. So most everybody else lines up in the hall, stays further back, but
out of the way.
Out of the way, yeah. But Geth, Turin, Krontis, and weren't you there?
Not bloody likely.
Oh, no, that's right. Fergus wasn't there, but it was Geth, Turin, and Krontis. And Turin, he's got special boots, spider climbing boots. Lets him walk on walls and ceilings and whatnot. Pretty cool. So he's like, well, I'm going to walk on the ceiling. He never asked me how tall the ceiling was. So he's walking on the ceiling, but he's got maybe 2 feet of clearance.
Yes, he's walking along the ceiling, very nice. Now, even if it was a 10-foot ceiling and he's 5 foot something, he would still be hanging down 5 foot something from the ceiling.
Yes.
So if a 6-foot boulder comes rolling down the hall,
And that's essentially what happened. So Krontis decides to spring the trap. Geth is able to leap out of the way. Krontis is able to leap out of the way. And here's Turin standing on the ceiling, watching this boulder come his way.
Like a speed bag, just dangling from the ceiling, waiting to get hit.
And he gets creamed. And he can't bend out of the way. He fails his roll, and it's just
Medic.
Bow.
Medic.
Tragic, but very funny.
Very funny. Medic. Or more like.
Now, luckily for him, he didn't get knocked off the ceiling and then proceed to get crushed multiple times. Gets wrapped around the ball. That would have been even funnier. But he didn't fail that badly, so he didn't die from this experience. So that's a good thing. Ish. Yeah. Anyway, so they move on from there, and they make their way back to the passageway that you could go left, right, or center, and
to wit, the central corridor. Now, advancing, I do believe there is a room ahead. And anytime you're in a place like this and you've got a room full of statues, well, any dungeon really, above level 2, when you're looking at a bunch of statues, naturally everybody is looking for the one that's moving, or going to move, or might move, or look like it moved a minute ago. Now, in here, it's not a case of one statue. It's all of them!
Yeah, in this case there were 3 statues that turned out to be stone golems. Now, it was a very simple encounter. It would have been much more difficult if they didn't have magical weapons, but seeing as how they do, they cut through all of the resistance and whatnot that the golems have against non-magical weapons, and it's a pretty easy fight. The first few rooms, I'm not trying to blast them. It's more of like warm-up fights, getting them going and slowly wearing down their resources, because as previously stated, they like to use everything in every fight. Every time. Well, they get their way through this, and then they have a choice to make of whether they're going to continue straight forward. But the problem with that is there is a passageway filled with acid, and what looks to be, from what they can see, anti-magic rooms. Now, I did this because I wanted to challenge them. Now, there's also a passageway to the left and to the right. They don't choose the central passageway because with the anti-magic rooms, they can't just simply fly across. They would run into zones where the fly spell would go away, they'd fall into acid, this, that, and the other.
Smolder, smolder, burn.
Yeah. Oh, the burning and the screaming.
Yes.
So they decide, well, let's not do a bunch of skill checks to see if we can jump from platform to platform or climb across, narrow ledges.
Not to mention, some of us are not exactly built for leaping across wide chasms and landing on point to go to the next. Dwarves have a certain amount of momentum once they get airborne, and you don't want to land and roll off the far side and burn everything off, including the beard.
Especially the beard.
Can't lose the beard. Bernard is hiding in the beard, afraid for his life.
Yes. So they decide they're going to go take the left passageway because
it's on the left.
It's on the left, and it looks much safer to fight unknown critters than to try and swim through acid. So they end up having a couple more encounters.
Minor.
And
monsters.
This was where y'all ran into the remorazes. Remorazes are big critters that are very hot by nature. So when you hit them with a melee weapon, you take burn damage, fire damage. They can also swallow you if they get a hold of you, which can be unpleasant.
Yes, just a little bit. But, of course, after having run through the number of times that we've almost been swallowed or eaten or devoured or breathed on by everything, usually it's now a rule of thumb that every time you see something move, nuke it. Just nuke,
from orbit.
Blast it, kill it, nuke it, drop the ceiling on it, drop the floor on it if you can. Anything. Just kill it quick. Don't give it a chance to think.
Which is going to come into play later because with all the resting that they're doing, time is passing. So far they've spent a couple of days in here just going through a few rooms, treading very carefully. Well, with the fight with the remorazes, they're able to, and this fight, sorry for kind of being a little scattered, I'm remembering that this fight, a few of the party members were not actually present that day, and so they went into the fight
short-handed,
with one in particular, Geth, being a little late and rolling into the fight at the very last second and saving their lives because it was a near thing.
It was a damn near thing, yeah. It was when there's always going to be a chance where, we've got if only the players that are running the fighters show up for one reason or another. You think, well, we could just take a buy and do something else, or maybe look into some research while we're here, or do something that doesn't involve running around getting hit by incredibly powerful things where we need a lot of healing. No. We said, nah, we ought to be able to do enough damage to chase off anything that comes this way. This was almost the end of this. Because once you've got 3 or 4 fighters with a minimum of magical spells or potions or ad nauseum stuff with you, and they start going quick because the critter that come around the corner is so damn big and scary and powerful that you're all gonna die. If you don't, you try to kill it and it's just not happening fast enough.
Yeah. So their damage per second, DPS, for those of you who play MMOs, was not high enough. But then Geth comes roaring around the corner with full health and a whole lot of rage. And that was a blessing because he was able to start tanking stuff and slaying things. Because he hits like, how should I put this?
Is there such a thing as a freight train? Gnomes, of course. They make that kind of stuff.
Well, I was going to make a Transformers reference,
Oh.
like Optimus Prime dual-wielding Mack trucks.
Well,
when he gets going, it's a sight to behold.
yeah.
Barbarians, who knew?
Yeah. It's like, the conversation goes from, we're all going to die, and then all of a sudden you're, Tempest! It's like, oh, thank God, I'm going up the left side!
So Geth comes in and rescues the short-handed party. Eventually, one of the healers makes it and heals people, and they defeat the Remorazes, and then they move on. The next area...
Nasty critters.
Yeah. The next area that they end up going to is... looks like a fire temple. Inside there are some cultists, and...
Oh, of course. It's like, oh, look, a big empty cave. Oh, look, with ionic columns and an altar and, oh, more of those people. Oh, here we go again.
Yeah. Well, these cultists were not Cult of the Dragon cultists. These are more of like, we like fire.
Well, robes, robes. And they usually, they're what's the word I'm looking for? They usually attack on sight just for giggles. There's no communicating with them. There's no, hey, we're just passing through. We didn't steal your hubcaps. No, here they come. And knives and screaming. And fire. Much fire.
And little mephits. Mephits are elemental creatures that can be different kinds. You can have mud mephits, fire mephits, magma mephits. You can have ice mephits, stone mephits, dust mephits. I need to make a poem. Anyway.
Now you might mess it up. Thank you.
That was good. Sorry, the sillies have hit. Anyway, they handle this fight pretty well, and they find not only an Ioun stone, which there's different kinds of Ioun stones that have different properties. Some can increase your dexterity, strength, wisdom. Some can absorb spells. Some can give you regeneration. This one in particular stores spells. The reason I had this in there was, again, you're traipsing through a dungeon, and I didn't want them to feel like, oh, all we're doing is fighting, we're not getting anything out of it. So I put in little treasures here and there in order to make them feel like, hey,
here's the thing.
We're not getting completely shafted by this whole experience. So,
Well, we are here for a reason.
Well,
so,
I know.
It's granted, it's just cash alone is fine, but it is kind of neat to. Oh, that's a nice knife. I've never seen one of these before. But you don't have DMs. Don't get crazy. Don't give them everything.
Yeah, the stuff that I gave them in here, it was like little stuff here and there that would bring them up to a power level that would be sufficient for facing the thing that they will have to face.
Yeah, no dual wielding magical king tigers, nothing like that. Just just nothing silly or something that's just off map altogether.
Yeah, a lot of these were like uncommon or rare items. They didn't get into the legendary realm at all. Generally, you don't want your players to get legendary.
Because then they start trying to do legendary things and get their ass killed.
Or they become so legendary that you have to really ramp up the difficulty, and it gets stupid.
Oh, random encounter with a dozen dragons. What?
I haven't done that.
No, not yet.
And then they were also able to find a secret room in here as well. And in the secret room, for those who have read the Cask of Amontillado, they find a suit of armor with a skeleton inside, with its wrists pinned against the wall by 2 immovable rods. Now, again, I wanted them to get some loot and get something that was fun, but not necessarily combat oriented. Immovable rods let you just press a button and it stays. Doesn't matter where, it just stays, and it can hold several thousand pounds. It takes X thousand pounds of force to even be able to budge it.
It's perfect for a portable ladder or an anchor, or if you want to stop the boat suddenly, any number of things. Whoever this poor slob was that they hid in this wall, well, he didn't need them anymore. And on top of that, that's a very nice set of armor he's got. Now, usually the thing to do before anybody throws it on, hey, well, I'll bet you this fits really well. Never, ever, ever, ever put on something, or rings, belts, hats, diadems, anything that has a magical aura. Don't put it on until your friendly neighborhood mage has had a chance to look at it and find out what demon is attached to it.
Because in this case, there isn't a demon, but it is cursed armor. The armor's pretty sweet. It's pretty strong, but against demonic forces, you are at disadvantage. It makes it easier for them to hit you and to do things to you. And so it's like, this is neat. I don't know if we want to put this on. And at the time, the cleric was not there when the armor was acquired, and so it was bandied about whether it should be recommended that the lawful good cleric don this without her knowing what it was. Now, as it turns out, that plan kind of went by the wayside and didn't happen, but some people entertained the idea.
Wouldn't it be funny if? Now, this is the kind of stuff where once you put it on,
you can't take it off.
It's stuck to you. Now, I don't know how the call of nature is supposed to work. I'm sure there's a flap or something. But you're trapped in this armor, so you need
a remove curse.
Yeah, you need spells. You need magic to get the darn thing off of you. And it's like, well, yeah, she knows that spell. That'd be one way, but it was never seriously approached, just for the simple reason it's guys, it's kind of cold.
Yeah.
And actually, that's another thing with armor like that. Doesn't it eventually start to fool with your alignment?
This particular set does not, but there are some that can do it over time. There are some that will just change your alignment as soon as you put it on. Now, I didn't give them that because there would be somebody who was so diabolical that he would go through with this plan for funsies for him. But I try and curtail that kind of activity by not presenting that option, because that's the best way to make that not happen, is just not even...
Don't leave the players to their own designs.
Yeah, that can be bad.
Because there's always that one guy. And you know who you are.
Yes. We're talking to you.
Moving on.
And they move on, and they travel up. So they've gone left and around and fought some Remrazes, fought some cultists, rested up a bit, and then they move on to the next little area. And this area, it branches 3 ways again. There's one that goes directly north, and then there's 2 more kind of like
yonder.
northeast and east. And so they're like, well, let's go north first and see what's up there. And up there they encounter some manticores. And in the midst of this, and of course Geth yelling...
Critters.
Yeah, well, in the midst of this, with Geth yelling Tempest and letting the entire dungeon know where he's at.
And we're standing right next to him.
While the fight is going on, some Medusas and Bacilli join the party from the rear, from one of the other passageways. So while all the tanks are forward dealing with the manticores and the mages and the archers, and the mage, the archer, and the druid are in the back, doing their ranged thing, here come stuff that can turn you to stone. Woo!
I'm not happy with it. That's about all you can do. It's just buggers. Because what you do is that primes your hand to throw the other finger. Because, oh Lord, here they come. And what do we got? You can't look at them. How are you supposed to fight them when you can't look at them? And it's like, all right, plan B. Rush them.
Well, in the process, I managed to turn Ito and Ailey into stone, as well as a giant moose. Now,
yes, we had a moosalope loose in the dungeon.
Where did the giant moose come from, you might ask? Well, Krontis has these nifty little bags of tricks. Just funny little things that whenever you reach in and you grab a little fuzzball that's in there and you throw it, it turns into a critter. Well...
It's always random.
Yes. You roll a d8 and it turns into a thing that's on a list. Well, this particular critter was a giant moose. Thing was huge.
Luckily the ceiling was high enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, so now we have this giant moosalope with this huge spread of antlers charging willy-nilly through the middle of everything. So, what's he going to throw next?
He tries to charge into the Medusas, but it gets turned into stone in the process. Well, running and screaming and throwing stuff and trying to stay out of the range of the Medusas. They eventually kill the Bacilli and the Medusas, but now one of their healers and the mage is turned to stone. Now, again, this is a high-level dungeon, and it's supposed to be difficult, but at the same time, I knew that they were not of a level where they could cure the being turned to stone.
Yeah, we've tried, but we're just not there yet. The spells are attainable, but not until next level, or the level after, when we get out of here, or whenever. And it's just like, so what do we do now? And we start using logic. Dangerous for the party members to start using logic, because they will figure, well, if these things are around here, and there are other things down here that probably bump into them all the time, maybe, perhaps, there might be something around here that can help us. So now we have to go start searching around.
One of the first places they search is they find a secret passage connected to the room with the manticores, and they send one of the rogues up, and I think it was Frontis, and he sneaks in and is like,
ooh,
Illithids, mind flayers.
Yes, and the names are interchangeable, and they're bad news. Now, most of us, we've never run across them before, but a lot of the older players have heard the name, and they are some of the most dangerous things that you can run into. So here we are. It's like, come back out of there. Come here, come here.
And this was my little jab at Geth, because again, Spencer, it's like, I take half damage from everything except for psychic. Really? Except
Mark
for what?
that and make a note.
Illithids are heavily psychic creatures. They do a lot of psychic damage. They can also suck the brain right out of your head.
It's like a hungry Zoidberg.
Yeah. And so Geth was like, nope, nope, nope.
Get on the nope train.
We're getting on the nope train and we're leaving Nopeville very quickly.
And we did.
And they left that alone. Like, nope, we're not going to go that way. And Fergus, actually, being that he's an Eldritch Knight, he cast a spell called Alarm across the entrance that they were aware of.
Yeah, we'll just put this here so we'll know if one of them happens to come out. It's a handy little thing. If it's not incredibly useful for a number of reasons, but when you need to know if somebody's going to come through that door or if somebody's going to come down that passageway, you can just lay this little it's completely invisible. I suppose there's a way to detect it, magically, but other than that, you've just got this little magical invisible tripwire that once somebody crosses it, you could be up to a mile away and it'll still ping you and let you know that something crossed the threshold.
Yeah.
So we leave it there just in case.
Now, what they don't know is that the Illithids have another passageway to a different part of the dungeon that they can take to get out. There's multiple ways in and out of their little living area.
Jerks.
Which will come into play later in humorous fashion. So they go back and they go searching, and they decide to take the passageway that the Bacilli and the Medusas came from, and they go explore that area, and obviously their area is not occupied anymore because they just killed
all
them.
the monsters that were in that room came to visit us in the other room, so now we're in this room and there's no one here. Perfect. Again, logical progression. Who knew?
And so they go searching, and they find a rise that they can climb, and a passageway that leads to what looks to be like a little treasure room. There are treasure chests around a little depression in the floor, and it's like, well, what are you going to do?
Now, most times, again, there is a certain level of paranoia amongst older players because, granted, you cannot always expect the game master to be diabolical at every turn because, honestly, sometimes that can get boring for everyone or annoying.
Oh, look, we're ambushed.
Oh, we're ambushed again by something. Oh, look, another pit trap. Oh, goodness. Oh, someone's a spy, blah, blah. But anyway, you got a whole room full of boxes. I believe there were 6 of them.
Yes.
And you gotta understand, folks, is this has been a couple of months or more since we actually did this, so it takes time to find the file. But anyway, it's like, okay, you've got a whole bunch of boxes, locked, perhaps. You don't know yet, but they're all identical. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What are the odds that one of them is this critter that they call a mimic? Now, a mimic is a shape-shifting thing that will make itself look like something attractive to adventurers. A big gem box or a strong box or a big armoire, anything where you would want to walk over there, right up next to it, or try to open it to look at it.
At which point it gets very sticky. It has an adhesive skin, so when you touch it,
you're glued to it.
and then the big mouth and the rah 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 rah.
Yeah, the chewing and the screaming and so on. So, needless to say, it was a bit of a thing to pry various adhered folk off of whatever was trying to eat them. Luckily, the whole room was not full of them.
No, there was only 3.
So, on the one hand, it's like, oh well, we finally pulled the mimic card. Okay, we kill the mimics. It's going to take some time, took a little effort, get the mimics out of the way. Now, what's in the other boxes? Because now it's like money.
And they find a decent amount of gold, about 1,000 gold pieces. They also find a spell guard shield, which is very handy and goes to Fergus.
So I think I'm the only doofus who actually uses a shield with any regularity.
Oh,
or wait,
cleric.
yeah, true.
Rithian, but she never got on the front line. She's more like, okay, I'm back here.
Heal. Yeah, hi. Heal.
And also they found some potions. Now, it looked very murky and gray and thick.
Unfortunately, none of them are labeled. It's not like you're going to pull this vial out of the thing and it's going to say, Mercacil, used twice a day until you are no longer stone. It doesn't say anything like that. So here we are. What does this look like? Because it kept shifting color as Hans described it. You look into the thing and okay, we got a thing and it's kind of a stony color and then it kind of rolls over to a kind of a flesh color and back. It's back and forth. I was like, well, we're going to have to test it. Not on any of us, no. So we have to go find something to test it on.
The Moosalope. So, poor thing. So Turin takes the bottle of this potion and slathers it on the top half of the Moosalope. The top half. And it gets turned back into flesh. The top half. Yes. It was a little messy, but the hypothesis proved true.
Yes, empirical data suggests that this stuff actually works. And so, in time, we managed to descale our companions, and we actually ended up with one spare.
Yeah.
This stuff is not cheap, and I think half of another one. So in case we ever end up with a gnome that's turned into a rock, we can do something about it.
Now, there is no stone to flesh potion in the Dungeon Master's Guide or, anywhere there. However, I wanted to make sure that they had the possibility of saving their friends should they get turned to stone, because I don't want all the players to be knocked out just for no reason. Basically, I don't want them to run into a situation where, oh, my guy's turned to stone. Well, I guess I'm going to miss a few weeks until we can figure out how to get this fixed.
And put some wheels on me and make me a trailer.
Yeah. Now, previously, when Ailey was turned to stone last time, it wasn't a big issue. They threw her in the bag of holding, and then you move on. However, because it's the Null Cells, they weren't allowed to have the bag of holding. So they would have been sitting there
dragging her around
as
a stone effigy.
Or leaving her and Ito there until they did everything that they needed to do. And then on the way out, then you drag them to the entrance and be like, hey, Penn,
fix that.
We need out with the statues.
Yes, these aren't statues. They walked in with us.
Yeah, recognize.
Yeah, the hair.
Great rack.
Yeah, that too. But anyway,
Antlers.
It didn't come to that.
The druid wears
It's
antlers.
a headdress.
Dirty minds. Anyway.
It's a very nice rack though.
So it's Dungeons and Dragons. So I, as the DM, made a magical item that will fix their problem if they happen to go get it. And they actually went and found it. So, it's cool. The players get to keep playing and they move on. Now, after all of that, the next thing that they encounter is a very special situation. Krontis gets sent ahead to go scout out the area, and he sees three? Yeah, I think it's 3 fire giants sitting around a table talking. They have their own little area in this big table, and they're talking. And so he goes back and he's like, Geth, fire giants. Now, Geth has a thing about giants. He loves killing giants because his backstory was he was orphaned because giants killed his parents, something along those lines. He loves killing giants. And so without further ado, he goes Tempest!
A great amount of fanfare.
He goes charging down the hallway ahead of everybody else. Full sprint. Now, he can move at a fair pace because he is a barbarian. And so he can move something on the order of 50 feet, I think.
Farther than most of us can catch.
Well, he sprinted. So he went his movement, and then he went another movement so that he could be like, hi, guys, I'm here. Because this fire giants, what are they going to do to him? He takes half damage from everything except psychic.
Remember back to the few minutes ago, we mentioned you got to keep notes on things like psychic damage and how they attach to names like Illithid. Well, okay, there are 3 giants sitting at a table talking. Now, upon the moment, because of the angle, I mean, big, tall table, giants, that Crontus was not tall enough to see that they were speaking to someone who was standing on the table. Now, what was up there? A bloody Illithid.
And why didn't it trigger his alarm spell? Because as previously mentioned,
use a damn different door.
they had another way out. And so the giants were having a confab with the Illithid about them. And it's like, oh look, one's decided to come and play.
How nice of you to join us.
And this was a perfect trap for Geth, because I knew that as soon as he heard giants, all rational thought left his brain. He's just like, there are giants. I need to go that way. And he did, predictably. And so everybody else is way the hell over here.
Strung out behind him in a long line.
And he's out in front. And it's like, roll initiative. Great. And guess what happens? His initiative is lower than the Illithid's. So the Illithid walks over and mind blasts him.
Yep, and that was not good. Locked him up.
Now, Mind Blast does psychic damage, so he takes the full damage from that. But what's even better,
depending on your point of view,
of course, is that he has to make an intelligence saving throw. Now, Geth's character is all brawn and constitution and some dexterity, but wisdom, charisma, and intelligent, he is not. So he promptly fails his intelligence check, and now he is stunned for the next minute. Now, at the end of each of his turns, he gets to make a saving throw to try and break free of that. However, he is not wise, he is not charismatic, and he is not intelligent.
So no matter how he rolls the dice, he's kind of in the hole.
Unless he rolls very high, like a 19 or 20 naturally, he is stuck stunned. So this great big fight against giants, which he was so looking forward to, he is
an unwilling
participant.
He's just standing there watching.
An unable participant. Anyway, he doesn't get to fight the fire giants because he ran out ahead of everybody and was easily picked off by the Illithid that was in the room. Well, the fight ensues. There was, much hitting and whatnot, and Fergus, who has a dwarven thrower, does amazing damage against the giants because dwarven throwers are warhammers that are made to fight giants. You get to do extra damage to them. And so it wasn't until the very end of the fight, when the giants were nearly dead, that Geth finally breaks free and starts finishing off the giants. He doesn't get to do hardly any of the fighting, but he gets the killing blow on 2 of the giants.
It's just 1, 2, just windmills through the crowd, and they start dropping one after another. It's like, oh good, where have you been?
The entire time just,
I'm over here having a moment.
And yeah, he was not happy with me. He probably won't be happy with me remembering it. But I had a good time, and he's gonna probably seek revenge at some point in the game where he's DMing and I'm playing. Hey, I didn't make him go charging off by himself.
That's the problem. Sometimes you gotta give the player their head. Go, let them do it, let them hang themselves, and then you will teach them patience.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky, or you will teach them to be really good at rolling up characters.
Which has happened.
Mm-hmm.
And right there, we'll leave it right there with that. There's a few more things before stuff gets really interesting.
Yeah, you might say.
But as ever, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit like, share the video with your friends, subscribe to the channel. If you want to find out more about Silver Wolf Comics and Games, there'll be links in the description and at the end of the video. And again, thank you so much for your support, everybody who watches. But wait, there's more.